Kendrick! 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 You there?
Not so loud.
Ah! God, scared me after.
Not so loud, I said. Fog's not natural. Could be something in there hiding. Foglets or air nymphs, for example. Don't want to attract them. Believe me.
Foglets? Oh, sweet mother Melitterly, why'd I ever come here?
Good question. What are you doing here?
See, Kendrick and me, we thought man has been empty all these years, full of fine things going to rot.
Mm-hmm. So you're a thief?
Thief steal from the living. What's the harm taken from the dead?
That would be called a grave robber. Thank you for asking. Oh my god, Loner. Hang on. LON3R665. Okay. Got it. Thank you very much. Ever and always, Loner. Much appreciated. Oh, did I miss a digit? God dang it. I need to look into why that's happened, because that's happened twice in this last week. Hang on. Jade Empire. Yep, no, it did it again. That's so weird. Thank you for pointing that out, Loner.
Kendrick went to open the door. I stood watch. Suddenly heard his lamp smash. Then nothing. Quiet. Called out to him, but... What was that? One of them foglets you spoke of?
No.
Phew. That's the stone off my...
I'll see what that was and look for your partner. You?
Ain't about to wait around. I'm out of here.
Pretty sprawling, this estate.
Yeah, it's got a lot of terrain here. Anyways, hello, Innocents.
Rose in this fog.
Loner, Hazardous, Black Vial, Micromano, Leander, Retu. What's up, guys?
Fresh manure. Water's ice cold. Mountain stream cold. Rather worn. Used often. Wonder by who.
Hello, Sonoshi. Oh, we'll definitely finish it today. I just don't know if we'll finish it before break.
Beehives. Well maintained, but dormant. Someone's still tending to the flower beds. No violet rose, though. Woods rotted completely. No violet rose here. Maybe somewhere out back.
Hello, Corrales.
I'd scooch along, kitty. This place. What's that? That... digging?
I'm sure that cat's nothing to worry about.
A lockpick? Must have been the other thieves.
Especially since the cat isn't acting like a cat at all. No worries.
Prints from cleated boots, leading from the back of the garden. Someone dragged a wounded man through here.
So I can't remember, is the gardener a mandatory fight or an optional fight? Just curious.
Graves, unmarked. Laid out in rows, like garden beds. Hey. Hear me?
I like that. Try talking first, then draw a sword. Silver sword, too.
Other thief. Body's mutilated. Who are you? Damn.
Well, we have a couple choices here. I gotta be honest, until I saw this thing, I didn't even think flesh golems were a thing in this setting. And just to demonstrate, this is me at level 50, doing admittedly normal damage, but still, that's how much damage I'm doing at level 50 against this thing. Also, if I'm not mistaken, this is basically the only real boss in this expansion. Which could be a sign of complaint, but I've always been in favor of the idea of... Oh, you notice he heals, by the way. You'll also notice that... I mean, it's a pretty reasonably well-designed boss fight. And I've always been more in favor of the idea of fewer boss fights which are, you know, better designed than a lot of boss fights which aren't. You know, Spyro 2 instead of Spyro 1. I guess Olgierd counts, kind of? And I would give you the Toad Prince, so yeah, that leaves us with 3. Which is exactly what I was just thinking, funnily enough. Is there a 4th, though? Because I might be forgetting one.
What the fuck was that? No eyes or nostrils, deformed organs. Damn thing had no right to be alive.
Well, I agree, but it's not a boss fight, Leander. That's an encounter. Oh yeah, there's the fear fight. Meh. Alright, ignore me. There's too many bosses in this game. 15 negatives!
What it means to be alive, exactly.
Normally I'd be shocked, but not after what I just saw. Who are you two?
Clearly not animals. Think of us as friends of the house.
What's with the show? The pretense that you're animals. You couldn't have warned me?
No. We're obliged to maintain discretion.
So why talk to me at all?
Why? Well, we get so few chances to talk to humans, and we're curious to know what brought you.
Gonna need a better answer than that.
Later.
What about this thing? What can you tell me? Friend of yours?
We called him the Caretaker.
Doesn't look like any creature I've ever seen. Where'd it come from?
From very far away. He was summoned to guard Lady Iris and the home. He tended the garden, took care of unwanted guests.
Very far away. Meaning where exactly?
The name of this place would mean naught to you.
I mean, you could tell me it anyways. We called it Azeroth.
You know the master of the house, the owner?
Olgierd von Everec? Yes. We know him, but he left, and his wife became mistress of the house.
Great. So, Lady von Everec home? Could you announce me, say she has a guest?
Why do you wish to see her?
I'm here to get the violet rose Olgierd gave Iris just before he left.
Iris is inside, in the bedchamber upstairs. Take his key. It opens the rear door.
Guess I'll make my own introductions. So, how should I address you?
As you did now. We'd rather keep our names to ourselves.
Sure thing, Bob and Bobina.
Leave. before it's too late.
Blah, blah, blah. Haunted evil, blah, blah, blah. Even by Geralt's standards, this is just a Tuesday at this point. So I have a theory. A lore theory. But I can't share it yet until I see the fear fight. Go ahead, Hazardous.
What the hell?
Hey, Permeus.
Gotta be careful.
It's funny, I was thinking something similar, Hazardous.
What the hell was that?
Yeah, it's just a ghost. Nothing big. Where's that journal? Oh, it's just a sketchbook. Ah, it doesn't matter anyways. What else we got here?
I'm afraid.
Uh-huh.
All geared as I've never known him. A different man then.
Nice painting, though. Dum-de-dum-de-dum.
Tidy, and everything's clean, ready for a meal to be served. Caretaker must still set the table.
What's the third boss? Oh, right, all geared. Duh.
Someone out to stop me?
Nah. They're just a ghost. They don't know what they're doing. You always feel bad for ghosts, you know?
Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Fire damage. Interesting.
God, I don't even remember the Ocean View Hotel. If John goes here, I'd ask him about it, but he's not. Oh, I noticed, Hazardous. I mean, yeah. Really? Fine. You mind? What's wrong? Well, whatever. Nice illusory trick here, by the way. It's basically just a quick visual distortion
What was that?
done in both directions, but it's a good trick.
Chamber. Iris was supposed to be here.
Yeah, she's right there, see?
Gotta be her. Damn it.
You wish to see her? Here she is.
A man should frame his wishes carefully. It forestalls disappointment.
This some sick joke. Why didn't you tell me she was dead right away?
You didn't ask.
And why hasn't anyone buried her?
We can't. As for the caretaker, the one you cut down, while still alive, she ordered him to stay away from her for all time.
How did she die? Don't see any wounds, evidence of a fight.
Her heart burst.
Meaning what? A heart attack?
No, it simply burst.
Find that hard to believe.
Yet that's precisely what happened. One day Iris locked the front door, lay down here and died. From grief, from loneliness.
The deeper I get into this, the more I gotta wonder. Why are you even helping me?
We were summoned to serve Iris von Everec. Our mistress died, but that did not free us from her service.
Got it. You want to leave this place, leave these bodies?
Surprised?
No, not at all.
Honestly, that's actually exactly what I was thinking, Lander. Given the nature of curses and the fact there was already quite a bit of magic going around this area, it wouldn't surprise me if she quite literally cursed herself to death. Would also explain the Wraith problem.
Her ghost's restless, angry, attacks intruders. Know why?
Lady von Everett has endured much hardship. She's unaccustomed to guests and not fond of strange folk.
She can't hear us.
Seems I gotta speak to Iris's ghost.
It's no easy task to contact the mistress. Rage and bitterness fill her.
Got my ways. To make contact with Iris, I gotta bury her body. But that caretaker's macabre little cemetery won't do. Too much blood, too much fear.
She spent much time in the front garden.
Maybe there.
Wait. Take this key. It opens the front door.
Good dog.
You know what's an interesting thought to me, personally? You mentioned these might be demons, Hasdus. But as weird as this may sound, it occurs to me that it almost doesn't matter what they are. Because what it sounds like is that they were some kind of entities, either spectral or extra-dimensional, that were bound into these forms and made and basically bonded into servitude. Like you say, familiars. So it almost doesn't matter who and what they were. They just want to get back to being that, because they're basically prisoners here, right? Just food for thought.
She liked to sit here, but this is not a good place for a grave.
Too close to the house.
I'll keep searching. A grave here?
Yeah, exactly, Permius. Especially in this setting. In fact, I'll be blunt, I don't even know the actual definition of demon within this setting. Like, what it literally means.
Storm. Damn it.
Iris von Everett adored flowers.
But she would never want to destroy them.
All right. I'll dig the grave somewhere else.
Hi, Adam.
This place seems suitable.
Yes, she loved to paint.
Did Iris von Everett have any last requests? Say how she wanted her remains disposed of?
She feared death, worried none would see to her burial or say a kind word in parting.
Guess I'll be the one to do that.
I actually have a theory about that too, Hasdus, but I want to see the scene again to say it. See how incredibly wrong I am. Hello, Mind Blast. I hope you didn't get too soaked. Make sure you dry off.
I didn't know Iris von Everett, so I can't say much about her. Fate had it a stranger now lays her remains in the grave. At times, fate muddles our path, and life turns toilsome, hard to bear. Yet all deserve respite and peace in death.
There's a variable, Adam, to change whether or not it allows you to... Basically, yes, if I'm understanding your question. Like, you can multiply the variables of damage of each of your damage sources by anywhere from 0 to 50.
You two, got any last words for your mistress?
We don't partake in human rituals.
Trusting that what you've done is in keeping with your customs.
Hey, that's another thing. I always get the vibe from these two that they kind of disdain humans. Not necessarily as a matter of course, but probably just because of a byproduct of their servitude. Like, if you were enslaved to a clown for several years, you'd probably start to really loathe clowns in general. Even if you could acknowledge that some clowns are decent people, you're just going to be like, ugh, clowns.
Your name's inscribed in this sketchbook. Perhaps you'd like it to be buried with you. The remains are interred. Let's summon her.
A gerbil. Yeah, I actually like
Tormented
that.
Spirit, I've laid your bones to rest. Forget your wrath. Forget your grief. Show yourself. Forgive me for tearing you from your realm. I need to ask you.
Good morning, Raglan.
Should I follow you? All right.
I really do love Geralt's approach to these kind of things. It's not blasé so much as just kind of... Well, honestly, if I was to use a word to describe him, I would say he's very scientific about things.
The Painted World. The work of Iris von Everec.
How'd you two get in here?
We exist in both worlds at once.
Strange place.
One born of Iris von Everec's dreams.
It existed only in her mind while she lived. In death, it gained substance.
Pretty fantastic tale. Hard as hell to believe.
Yet you'd best believe it, and be on your guard. The Painted World is rife with danger.
All right, this is lovely and all, but where's Iris?
You awoke her but for a moment. If you wish to speak to her, you must tear her from her slumber completely.
Sure, but how?
You're a tracker, right? Saw you examining the tracks outside.
Yeah, so?
This is a world built of memories blurred and wilting. Moments our mistress wishes to forget, but cannot.
You need to find them, restore them, summon the fears that torment Iris, and destroy them.
Easy to say.
No one can, Adam. No one can. I mean, hang on. See, to look it up, I have to basically pause the stream. So everyone, Adam is demanding that I pause the stream right now. So the mods I'm using are, in no particular order, all quest objectives on map, colored map markers, disable storybook videos, fast travel from anywhere, play how you want to God mode, Hairworks LOD, and that's it, other than the one I designed myself, obviously.
Olgierd and his wife look frozen mid-motion.
One of her memories.
It is blurred, incomplete. You must restore it.
Tattered decorations for a special occasion. A wedding veil? Wine cup, just like the one Olgierd's holding. perfect match.
Your health, my dear wife.
And yours, my husband.
In my land, custom calls that newlyweds be greeted with bread and salt. But we're alone for now.
I need none but you. Oh, if only this moment could last forever.
I shall see what I can do. But come in and see our home.
Gladly, but I know this sounds silly, yet the house has sat empty for so long, and I'm...
Afraid of spiders? I know. I swept them all up and tossed them in the garden.
My knight, you've seen to everything.
Yeah. Spiders in the garden. I love that camera transition. I really do. Like, the cutscene's playing and you just hear the shink in the background. And we don't see for several seconds why he drew his sword. Very nice. God, I love the camera work in this expansion. I really do.
Medallion's humming. A wraith?
No. A nightmare.
A fear crystallized. One you must now face.
Okay. Come on, yeah, it's got... Okay, whatever. Yep, there we go. Yeah, I'm not screwing around with the spiders. You know my rule on that one. That's not even a rule. That's just how things are. Yeah, it sounds about like several of my experiences with this game, Gum Gum. I recommend cheating. I'm kidding. I mean, it's an option.
Another dream of the past. Bet this one's incomplete too. Silver thread, pearls. It all must have cost a fortune.
Oh, it's on console. Well, you're screwed, sorry.
A lavish feast. Trying to impress the guests.
Infinite screwed.
Just a little different than the painting. Castel Ravello. A Toussaint wine. Expensive.
You know, at first I was weirded out by how many Toussaint references there are. Then I started thinking, Toussaint's like right frickin' there. Like, I can't pull up the map right now, because it just told me I can't. But it's not actually all that far from where we are, physically. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, it's not the same as... Like, imagine if in Star Wars, Tatooine just kept coming up over and over, no matter where you were. That would just be weird. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm actually in a lot of pain today. I don't know what's up with me.
These were lit in the painting, but that's not all.
No, Corrales. I've said it before. The difficulty of the game doesn't mind or bother me. I just don't care for the combat of the game. Like, I could really dissect the combat if you wanted me to. The fact that they play trading is something I don't care for. The fact that there's not really a lot of iframes built into either of the dodges is something I don't care for. You know, the fact that you are extremely limited in your range of attack unless you're using the crossbow is something I don't care for. You know, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not bad. You'll notice I haven't really given it a negative. But that's why I don't consider it to be all that good. Why I've also not given it a positive.
Olgierd's wife liked flowers. Judging by the ornamentation, this might be hers.
I have no idea, Gum Gum. In my experience, the titles of novels really have nothing to do with the novels themselves. Or if they do, you only find out at the end, so who cares, right?
Fire was burning in the painting. Still something missing, though.
Even more fire. Oh, less fire, less fire. You know, if I could see what the hell I was looking at, I might have a better job of telling what the hell I'm supposed to do here. Like, I'm sorry, blurred stuff really bothers me. It's one of the reasons I hate it when games excessively anti-alias cutscenes, you know, for example, or just the graphics. Because, like, it basically gives me a headache. It makes my eyes think... It makes me think I'm doing this, just to put it simply. And this makes me kind of just... and it weirds my eyes out and gives me headaches and blah, blah, blah.
My darling, is everything all right? You seem pale, out of sorts.
Everything's fine, really. But why don't you tell me how you fare? I'm ever so happy to see you. Except, why didn't Grandmama and Grandpapa come?
It's a long, rugged journey. Muddy.
They still refuse to meet me. Is that it? And what's this?
We brought some of Iris's things. Her favorite brush, her cherished doll, and this for you.
Banknotes.
We paid off your debts, bought them out, to avoid bringing shame to the family.
So nice of Mama and Papa to remember me.
Olgierd? Now you see his true nature? I warned you before the wedding. A ruffian and a boor who keeps the company of bandits. Are you not afraid to live under one roof with that rabble?
Stone probably works better, Gunga, in my opinion.
So let's follow him.
Now, this is an interesting situation. I want to comment on this briefly because it has to do with economics. What they just did for him is actually really awesome, technically. Because, well, there's a really funny thing about debt. Even though debt is usually a legally binding thing, and has been for centuries upon centuries at this point in human history. Like, I know this sounds like a weird thing to comment on, but human beings tend to perceive debt as like almost an absolute. I know that sounds strange, but debt is almost always perceived as something. You can't avoid it, right? You can't bypass it. Oh, well, I'm in debt to you, or I owe this to this one, and so forth and so on. I know that sounds... I can't even explain properly how weird it is that we just sort of presume that debt must be a thing that's honored. It's just weird. In fact, funnily enough, Mr. O'Dim actually commented on that very same thing in this very same thing. But anyways. So to continue this thought, one of the things that's interesting to me about debt is debt can be forgiven at any time. Legally, by the way. Like, for example, let's say I'm a bank, and let's say you take a loan out from me. So I give you X money. I, as the bank, have the legal right, as well as the general cultural accepted right, to just get rid of that debt. To just say, nope, you don't owe me a penny. I can do that at will. Now, you could probably understand why most banks do that, but it's an interesting little point of human history because every so often there have been people who have deliberately purchased debt or acquired debt specifically to destroy it, to erase it from existence. It's really rare you see someone do that, though. Astonishingly rare that you'll see someone do that. Probably because most of the time people in money and power don't actually want to help other people, but that's getting off topic. So, what they did was they bought out his debt to get rid of it. Which, again, incredibly rare. In fact, it's so rare, I'm pretty sure it's the only time it actually happens in this entire game. Just to mention it. And finances have come up several times. Now, the caveat here is I don't think they did it for good. You notice that she actually flat out says why they did it, their motive for doing it. It was because we didn't want shame on the family. So, I find it fascinating that what they did was effectively something that was an incredibly rare and generous act done for incredibly selfish, prideful reasons. Something about that whole back and forth interplay just fascinated me. And of course, his reaction to that was to just toss it into the fire. Which, of course, to them shows very clearly, oh, well, that's the kind of person he is, right? And again, that makes perfect sense. Even though they did it for Von Baconeater's purpose, Von Baconeater didn't actually want to be under their shadow for the rest of his life. Like, imagine if Von Baconeater had to go for the entire rest of his life thinking, the only reason I'm financially solvable is because my parents-in-law decided to buy me out. That weight would be there. Even if it's not there in a literal, tangible, legal way, there would still be the cultural norm, the biased norm, the intangible weight of that sitting on Von Baconeater for the rest of his life. Then, so that's from his perspective. But then from her perspective, what they just did was an incredibly rare, incredibly generous act. Now, again, they did it for very selfish reasons, but everyone, as I said earlier, everyone who's wealthy and powerful tends to do things for selfish reasons, with precious rare exceptions. And so I know this sounds like such a strange thing, but I want you to put yourself into the mindset of the rich and powerful. Just for a second. I don't want you to be too poisoned by it. And I want you to think for just a second what it would be like if you are the wealthy and powerful and you go out of your way to wreck and ruin and hurt and destroy everyone around you. Think about, again, just to put it within setting, think about what Vorst did. How Vorst would go out of his way to, and that's just within this expansion, to buy out other people's debts in order to collect on them immediately, in order to force them to default on all their goods so he could then auction them off. Basically buying debt to force debt to steal, because let's call it what it is, in order to make more money on it. That's more normal for the rich and powerful. So from her perspective, what she did for him was magnanimous, was incredibly selfless and joyful unto him. And he just throws it in the fire. What kind of savage would do that? Would not understand or appreciate the lengths and efforts that I have gone to improve your inferior and pathetic life. Right? Now again, I don't actually really care about her or him. Like, her parents are kind of horrible people. But you can kind of see both perspectives here. And I just wanted to talk about that, because that's a brief scene, but very excellently played. Thank you, Von Baconeater. Much obliged, as ever and as always, for the sub. Thank you. And I hope you do not end up in debt for the rest of your life to some woman who bought out your debts. And you say Halo. Which Halo do you mean, if you don't mind my clarifying?
Not you again.
Go away.
Don't like this place.
Does anyone like this place? Pretty sure the person who lives here doesn't like this place.
Bedchamber.
Alright, hang on, guys. I gotta go kill Kay. I hate killing Kay. The fan, Kay. He runs it into the fan.
Wash basin. Bloodstains on it. Bloodstained towel. Didn't wash it all off. Got some on the towel.
I don't think I have a preference there, Gum Gum. So, coin flip scenario. That was weird. Yeah, I can just kind of walk through them here. Is that cool with everyone?
What time is it?
It's late. Sleep.
Up all night in your study again, I see. What have you got on your hands?
Nothing. Got a bit dirty, that's it.
Is that blood? Have you hurt yourself?
Ink stains. I was writing letters. I shall go to Oxenfurt soon. Perhaps you'd come with me.
Oh, that's a marvellous idea. A trip would do us both so much good.
Then it's decided. Now, time for bed. I'm exhausted.
I shan't fall asleep now. It's out of the question. Come, I shall finish your portrait.
She painted Olgierd, but the details are off. Living tableau's missing something like the one in the painting.
There. You ever wonder how much attention to detail they put into their stuff? Look at his left arm. I know it's kind of hard to see because I can't get a proper camera angle. Oh, actually, you know what I could do is I could do this. Hang on. Move. It's not letting me move. Ah! How do I move the friggin' camera? Looks like I literally can't. Whatever. You can see a little bit more clearly there. There's no scars on his left arm. Think about that for a second. Think about how much effort and time it would take to bother to make either a separate model or a separate filter for his model, just for basically these cutscenes right here. And keeping in mind that unless you're paying attention, you'd barely even notice that. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. How many, no offense intended, but how many of you have never noticed that? That dinky little detail, which, if you're playing normally, is basically that big on your screen. Love the details in this game. Depends on how they do it in Oceans. If they were smart, you're right. They could have just basically made this model and then applied a few variations for the other model, and boom, that would be quick and easy. So if they planned ahead, sure, but we know how their management staff is, right?
Living tableau's gotta look just like the painting.
But I'll give you that. It probably doesn't actually take all that much time and effort. But that's still awesome that they bothered. In fact, I'm just astonished that they didn't bother. Or that they did bother, excuse me. Like, holy crap.
Living tableau's gotta look just like...
So, grapes. On the left.
Fits, I think. This goes here. Maybe on this side. Finally, just like the picture.
Smile a bit wider.
Like this?
You were meant to smile, not bare your teeth. No, still wrong. Smile like you did when Papa agreed we could marry. Please? You're useless. I can tell something's bothering you.
I've a bit of work I should see to.
Again? Olgierd, we agreed not to keep any secrets from one another. We promised.
Forgive me. I don't wish to discuss this.
Olgierd. Olgierd!
It's fine, Kay. I mean, it's horrible.
Von Everett's study. Here he immersed himself in the arcane arts.
God, that would be a fun conversation. Yeah, so I summoned more or less literally the devil, or the evil incarnation of evil, or a really evil djinn. No matter how you slice this, I did something really bad. Because, you know...
Between worlds?
Because I love you!
Manor was depressingly gloomy in the winter.
That right there, that's the ultimate how you're supposed to end every conversation. Oh my god! Why did you stab that person to death? Because I love you!
Blood pacts, or on foreign presences. A tome about parleying with demons. Blood? For some kind of magic, I bet.
Oh my god, why did you wreck the car?
Pentagrams here to bind summoned beings. Lines aren't all clear, though. Need chalk to fix them, then I can set out the candles. Black magic. That should do it. Now for the candles.
3.
How about this?
Come back! We must talk!
Go away. I wish to be alone.
Not this time! Come out at once!
Leave me be. I merely want to work in peace.
Pro tip, never do this. Never works out well.
Udiano feos. Soba camisa iada. Soba camisa e barasas.
Apparently Enosians. Or sorry, Strimmer Rage. Strimmer Rage knows all about that. No, I'm usually on the other end of this experience, Enosians. Thank you very much, Strimmer Rage. Ever and always appreciate the sub. Thank you. Do you happen to know what you want to put that towards?
What other spell must I use, damn it? I've tried them all. I wish to end our pact. I summon thee!
So yeah, as Jongo already mentioned, as I think Kay mentioned as well.
Quickly! The flames! Douse the flames!
I did not expect that.
Anyways, yeah, as mentioned, this was not him trying to summon Odin to make the pact. This is him trying to summon Odin to end the pact. Like Carino tried to end his pact with me, and that didn't work out very well for Carino. Now, I let Carino go after a while. Yeah, I was magnanimous, but Carino had to learn that one the hard way. Thank you very much, Carino. Much appreciate the sub as always. Thank you. Forgive me for not fully bowing. I'm in a lot of pain today. Now, Carino, you will give me your soul. No, do you know what you'd like to put that towards? And thank you again, Strimmer Rage.
Back in the middle of a raging blizzard. Gotta find shelter. Get inside.
Soyba-punk, you got it. Carino. So, sorry. Hasdus said earlier, why do I think the summoning failed? Well, I think there's two possible reasons why. The most obvious reason is that Odim is not
Of course you follow me. They all do.
is not vigilant. And because only vigilant can be summoned by, you know, the pentagram and the blood and the candles. It's actually funny, because I remember noticing that last time, but I didn't notice it this time, Vigilant. Clearly she just magicked up another one. It's all magic clothing. Oh god, that would be mean, wouldn't it? Like, they're all wearing magic clothing, right? They're not literally wearing clothing. So what if she gave her the necklace, and then, like, a few minutes later it just kind of vanishes because the spell maintaining it is too far away or whatever. That would be funny. Anyways, thank you, Vigilant, very much. And I'm glad you've been enjoying. Okay, so first and most obvious reason why Odim didn't respond. Because he's not a demon. You know, either that or he's a demon strong enough to ignore the rules. But the most obvious answer is because why would he? Like, basically, I've already given my big theory on Odim. I think he's a unique entity, a reflection elemental, or a reflection aspect might be a better word for that. And thus, if that is true, there's basically nothing you can do to summon him, like at all. And so, Olgierd goes through all this work and effort to learn the occult and demonology, because he obviously he thinks of Odim as a demon. It's a logical thing to think. But in his ignorance, he's basically just... It would be kind of like the same as someone trying to get you to pick up the phone by putting down like a salt pattern on the table as they call you. Like, that's not going to... That doesn't do anything, right? That doesn't compel you to pick up the phone if you don't want to pick up the phone. It doesn't mean anything to you. It has nothing to do with you. And that's my take on that. And, of course, he's probably amused by the efforts and length which he's willing to go to. Now, I like that idea most because it ties back into that theme of knowledge again. That Olgierd, in his lack of knowledge and his lack of understanding, presumes a thing to be true and then pursues it full tilt. And it doesn't do anything. Because he is ignorant. Because he does not know what Odim is. Okay. Always with the freezing to death in this game. My goodness.
Let them in. They froze to death.
What? Oh my god. Those poor people that I could barely see because of the blur. I'm the wrong person to ask about publishers. I haven't looked into actual publishers since like 2002 at this point. I also don't think the number of short stories matters. I only think the length of the short stories matters. 2 short stories that are 150 pages each is probably sufficient. Oh, I'm pretty sure, this is just my take on it, Hazes, but I'm pretty sure he summoned the demons, that is to say, the familiars, whatever the hell they actually are, after, you know, after his getting into the occult. Okay, I am having a really hard time seeing here. Like a really hard time seeing here. When did he summon the caretaker, then? There it is. Like, that is seriously blurry. That was messing with me.
Olgierd, Iris, and her father.
Anyways. I only mention that, though, because I find it interesting that he... This is my take on it. But I find it interesting that Olgierd successfully became sufficiently versed in demon magic to successfully summon multiple creatures, successfully bind them to his service. Like, that's... Think about that for a second. Think about what that takes. And think about the effort in time and work that would be. Of course, it doesn't do anything to Odin, because why would it? But, you know, you get the idea.
A beer tankard, but there was vodka in it. So that's how he whiled away the long winter evenings. Drained to the last drop.
That's fair, Innocence.
So this is when he started smoking.
Or worse. What if... So I don't know if this is true, because like I said, I don't know how demons work in this setting. But what if usually demon parlances deal with your soul, but someone already had a line on his soul? Someone else already owned the debt on his soul, so to speak. So they couldn't claim it.
A marriage contract between Iris and Olgierd.
Something about that idea really amuses me. Like, picture that for a second. Picture a demon being like, ha ha ha! And now I will claim your soul. Wait, who owns that? Oh my god! And then they just leave.
Her father must have been holding the contract.
Furthermore, it is agreed that Iris shall be accorded the respect she is owed, that you shall heed her counsel and requests, and...
Get to the point, Father. My patience runs thin.
Gladly. On Iris's request, I declare this marriage null and void.
You vowed to remain with me till death do us part.
Notice he has the scars now.
Held to my vow. The Olgierd I married is no more.
Breaking a word once given does not come that easy. Believe me. You shall stay here forever.
Enough! You will not command us. You will...
Father! Father! No!
Servants, take this carcass and feed it to the beasts.
Then Von Everett ceased to be human.
Though he still loved his wife.
No, he merely remembered that he should love her.
Let's go upstairs.
I like the cat's comment there, by the way. He merely remembered that he should love her. I hate to continue to parallel this to another excellent fictional work, but I'm reminded a great deal in Olgierd of Jonolith Irenicus. Obviously, there are substantial differences between the two characters, but just picture that line that David Warner performs perfectly. At first I remembered you, and then I remembered my love for you, and then I remembered the memory, and then I had nothing left. The way he says that is just beautiful. I can't do David Warner's voice. I can't do British.
I remember. We spent much time together here, the three of us.
In silence.
We'll take our places, the same as then.
You do the rest.
Okay.
A platter. Animal hair. Claw scratches.
Yes, Blackwell. What's funny is in Baldur's Gate 2 specifically, it was actually... it was his soul, or that is to say, actually it would be more accurate to say it was his essence that was ripped out of him.
Perfect match.
Oh no, don't that's why I say I can't compare the two directly, okay? Irenicus was a monster even before he lost his essence, or whatever you want to call it. Olgierd had decent traits to him, but was still a bad person before he lost, you know, his heart, his soul, whatever you want to call that. We need to talk about Olgierd at some point, but I want to save that for just now.
Single place setting. No others on the table.
Well, yes and no, Tigzar. It would be most accurate to say Irenicus lost his soul because he failed.
Think this was yours.
I don't want to spoil an unrelated game here, so let's just say that there were reasons why Irenicus was deliberately cursed by his own people to be what he became.
There we go. You actually ate from these bowls?
Of course not. I already told you, we're not animals.
But the caretaker would set them out all the same, as ordered.
Another monstrosity. I begged you to stop this. Those two are too many as it is.
The dog and cat keep you company. This one will protect you, care for the house, no matter what happens.
Before, I wished to know what was going on in that head of yours. I thought perhaps I could help. Now, I care not the slightest what you think or how you feel.
I feel nothing.
Just as I no longer know if I still hate you. Go, Olgierd. I want you out of my sight.
Olgierd von Everec failed to understand we'd never be able to replace him.
His spectre now casts a shadow over Lady Iris's every remembrance. We're almost at our journey's end.
What's there?
Iris von Everec's greatest fear.
Oh no, that's definitely the curse. I mean, the love might have waned naturally at some point, but no, this is the curse. It's just people on.
My dearest wife, letters from Olgierd to Iris, where I only as skilled with words as I am with my blade, especially now, when an icy void grips my heart. I see how you look at me, and I see you wither. I cannot help you, but I believe I can cease harming you. This letter and this rose are my farewell. May you live in health, and remember but the good times, Olgierd.
This is what we call no longer playing around mode. Of course, the moment I stop is when he hits me. The second I stop.
How long are you gonna make me wait?
Alright, I'm actually curious. What am I doing wrong here?
Time to end this.
You undid the illusion, you'll complete your task. Live happily ever after.
Whatever. Clearly not hard enough, Chongo. Which is funny, because I can turn my damage up even higher.
You're not him.
Wait, I want to talk.
Not here. Not in this place. I'm sorry. I mistook you for another.
For Olgierd?
I thought he'd returned. To me.
What are you? A ghost? An illusion?
I am sadness.
Saw you before, but you weren't yourself. And I saw you again in your memories.
We've met. I don't recall. I had bad dreams. That is all I know.
I've come for the violet rose Olgierd gave you.
On the day we saw one another for the last time, I dried it and placed it in our chamber, at my bedside. I lay there for days, staring at it, until at last it crumbled into dust, as did I soon after.
So, the rose is gone?
Not from this world. Look, you buried my body and the flowers bloomed once more. And I was held in a deep, dark sleep. Only now have I awoken, just like my beautiful rose. When you placed the sketchbook on my grave, I remembered learning to draw my husband's face. Tell me, how is Olgierd? Healthy? Does he fare well?
Your husband's got a powerful enemy, Gaunter O'Dim. Know the name?
I curse the day I first heard it.
Who is he, and how'd he step into your lives?
It's my fault. It was for me Olgierd summoned the Man of Glass. And it was my fault he wished for riches, then immortality for us both. Olgierd will best O'Dim, won't he? Now tell me, how is my husband?
Your husband hunts out ever stronger sensations. He tempts fate, because at heart he's unhappy.
At heart he is stone, so nothing has changed. And did Olgierd mention me? What did he say?
Not much, but I didn't ask about you. He just sent me to retrieve the rose.
The rose? The last I have left of him? His last gift?
got a feeling the rose is important to you, more than a memento.
I remember so little. Yet when I think of my rose, I begin to recall what was. The world around me turns real, and my eyes open wide and I recognize things. Remember who I am and who I was.
Friend once told me about a case like this. Could be strong emotions that bind you to the rose, feelings we witchers call pins. They're what keeps you in this world.
Like an insect pinned in a collection case. Horrible.
Need to be honest, if I take the rose, you might cease to exist, as might the world you built around you.
And what will happen then? Shall I be free of the suffering, the sadness? Is it the void that awaits?
I don't know.
I don't wish to suffer any longer, but I fear there will be cold and darkness until there is nothing at all.
I can't take the rose.
Is it not what you came for?
Can't force Iris into oblivion. She thinks and feels still, and she's no danger to anyone but intruders.
Look at her. Look at her world. She's doomed to relive the painful past eternally. Take the rose. Show her mercy.
What should I do? What do you want me to do?
I do not know what I want. I'm so very, very afraid.
You too. You want me to take the rose, trying to convince me. Why?
We want to help Iris von Everick. And you.
Generous demons? I don't buy it. Because you are demons, right? You were to serve Iris until the end of her days. End didn't come with her death, so you were sentenced to stay in the world of her torment for all time. Can't break the contract yourselves, so you need me to do it for you. If I take the rose, Iris will cease to exist, but you'll also be freed.
You're right. But are we wrong to want that? Our intentions are pure.
We're but bit players in this tragedy. A performance has gone on too long. We can't help the mistress, and her fate no longer moves us.
Can we be blamed for simply wanting to leave the stage?
I need the rose. Will you give it to me?
It's so fragile. Look, the petal edges have turned crimson, as they were on the day I received it. The one thing missing is the single drop of dew which slid down the leaf when I took the rose in hand. Or was it blood? Because I pricked my finger? I can't remember. You know, I never did read the letter from Olgierd. I didn't have to. And I needn't have kept the flower he left me. I've come to a decision. I shall give you the rose.
Our service thus ends. Thank you, stranger, for freeing us.
Before we go, some advice. Beware of the one called the Man of Glass. Stand in his way, and you'll meet a fate worse than death. Seek salvation in glass that can't be broken.
Glass that can't be broken?
So long.
I mean, water. That was such an obvious thing.
I'll remember you, Iris von Everick.
That no longer matters. Farewell.
I don't mean to sound dismissive, but that was such an obvious thing the first time I heard it. Still cool that they tossed that in there. Man, I'd be in a little more of a hurry if I was Geralt right here. Oh. Sorry, that's just... It's like I can suddenly relax my eyes. So, that's cute. I mentioned a theory. I've always thought that... How do I phrase this? That the reason that she decided to go ahead... I'm saying this wrong. She endured long past when she should have, even beyond being a simple wraith. I've always personally believed that the specific reason she endured in the pseudo-stasis, pseudo-ghost, kind of asleep, eternally tormented nature that she did was because of the wish for her to be immortal. That was, to put it in simplistic terms, her curse. In fact, I thought about this last time as well as this time. I honestly find myself wondering if what we just did actually frees her from it or not, given the nature of it. Because it wouldn't surprise me if she still isn't actually free from the overall problem. How do you get out of here normally? That she would not, in fact, be free until Olgierd is free one way or the other. And at that point, she finally, no really, goes, whew. Okay, there's like a normal door getting out of here, right? Now, here it is. God. The GPS kept lying to me, like, hey, go through here. I can't, you stupid. Now, I know this sounds horrible, but I kind of like the idea that she's actually currently still alive, and that she remains so until the contract is fully concluded, either by us, you know, allowing Gaunter O'Dim to take Olgierd, or by playing against Gaunter and beating him at his own game. One of the two. Not because I particularly want her to keep suffering, but because that makes the most sense to me. That it would literally end with it ending, if that makes any sense. Get that. Now, Huthor disagrees with me, obviously. So, there's only one way to deal with that. No, I'm kidding. No. Okay. So what do you think, Uthor?
Well, Witcher.
You'll choke to death on 3 pounds.
Taking a peek at my... Everyone to me! To me!
The new management.
The sign still says Borsode.
Aye, a different one.
Headache again.
Two points, and be quick about it.
I just realized what scene we're at. Hang on. So, one of the things that I like about the portrayal of Mr. O'Dim is that, well, he has style, basically. Now, I mention that because I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Let's say I have the power. Yes, I did, Kay. Let's say I have the power to be a Q, right? Like, that's just the level of power I have. Now, I want to ask you something. If I wandered around with trumpeteers and, like, giant cherub wings, and, like, everywhere I go, there's just a light beam from heaven gazing down upon me, And there's just this, basically this non-stop cavalcade of awesomeness, right? That would be kind of cool for the first minute or so. And then it would get old, right? I mean, obviously I'd stick out like a sore thumb, but that's not quite the point I'm trying to get. It would get boring. You'd get used to it. It'd be like, yeah, okay, and... No. Someone with style, someone who really knows how to present themselves, knows that you keep things on the down low so that when you do decide to bring out all the stops, that's when people pay attention. And I mention this because this is exactly what Gontar O'Dim tends to do throughout this entire arc. He's basically just kind of there. You know, he doesn't really do much. Little things. Very small little tidbits. And then every now and again he just breaks out the big guns and is like, oh yeah, by the way, I can do this. Like he is about to do. And I just thought I'd mention that because it goes back to what I mentioned about him enjoying himself.
Sir, a bit of courtesy.
So I look up, and Bob's your uncle. He downs half the barrel in one draught.
Geralt! Over here!
Oi, waiter looks. Use the look of a man who knows how to drink.
Thanks. Some other time.
Here now. Don't make me beg. My treat.
Remember, don't ever interrupt me.
Of course I am. Wouldn't you be? Time's a marvelous plaything.
And a great spice to use in gingerbread.
So, you were listening. Indeed, occasionally I find time manipulation irresistible. Controlling it offers so many appetizing opportunities. Like spiking the soup of unsavory individuals with appropriately ghastly things.
Who are you, really?
Gontar O'Dim, also known...
Not what I'm asking.
Ah, so you'd rather know what it is I do. In brief, I give folk what they ask for. You might say, I simply grant their wishes.
That'd be downright noble if you didn't always demand something in return.
Law of the market. I was not the one to coin the phrase, nothing comes free.
You're not human, that's clear. So what are you? A demon? A djinn?
Do you really wish to know?
Yes.
No, Geralt. You don't. This one time I shall spare you and not grant your wish. All who have learned my true name are now either dead or have met an even worse fate. Yet I still need you.
Minor point. There's actually a term for this, and I can't remember it. But it's when you specifically use a camera angle to make someone look more sinister by forcing them to look up like this, so that the eyebrows are mostly obscuring the sight. Now, if you're paying attention, I have done nothing to alter my face. I am still looking in the exact same expression as I did before, but my face comes across completely differently, doesn't it? Simply by using the different angle, like this. There's a term for that. I can't remember what it's called. But you'll notice they just did that with Gontar. And to my knowledge, and I've been paying attention to this, that's the first time they did that with him.
You actually control time, or is this just some conjurer's trick?
What difference does it make?
A big one.
Let us say time has always fascinated me. So I taught myself how best to use it.
Why time, of all things?
Geralt, there are 4 dimensions. Length, width, height, and time. What would you have me fall in love with? Width? Come now.
I mean, that's what I like about Bragwin. I'm sorry. I don't think she's even here. I shouldn't make those jokes when she's not here.
So, to what do I owe the pleasure?
I wanted to congratulate you. You acquitted yourself splendidly with Olgierd. In fact, you've almost satisfied your debt.
Was supposed to fulfill his 3 wishes. Did just that. This is where you remove the brand, 'cause we're even.
Nearly. To fulfill the terms of the contract to the letter, you must do one more thing. Draw Olgierd to the Temple of Lilvani.
We never discussed that.
Oh, but we did. As a man of the world, you should know that every contract contains a catch or two. Small print, which, nevertheless, changes the ultimate meaning of the pact. This applies to oral contracts as well. Recall that I said, and I quote, "I believe, however, that all will end well, and once it does, we 3 shall meet and thank one another for the voyage we shared." End quote.
Yeah, I remember.
Fulfill your end of the bargain, and I will remove the brand. That was the last time you interrupted me while I was talking to someone.
What the devil? Why is there a fly in my soup? Was waiting. Had an eye out for you. Didn't see you come in. How is it you're here?
I'm a witcher. Superhuman quickness. Just one of my many qualities.
You tossed this fly in my soup?
No. Now listen carefully. Tell your Ataman to come to the Temple of Lilvani. It's south of here. Entrance is inside a cave.
What's the commotion?
Lilvani's temple. Got it?
Aye, got it. Hold that! Your friend, the medic. She were here. Ask that you look in on her.
Thanks.
I mean...
No stranger to the bottle, eh?
He were there, alive, a moment ago.
I've said it before and I've said it again. Don't get in my way.
Witcher in the house. No wonder folk are dropping. Cursed and next.
Funnily enough, I plan to do both, Huthorn. Can you guess which one we'll be doing first? Of course you can. That's a dumb question. I know, I'm too predictable. But that's okay. Predictability isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Shani?
Oh, Geralt. Good thing you're here.
Piggy!
What happened? Somebody break in?
This? No. Just getting ready to move.
What? When? Where to?
Not what I wanted to talk to you about. Or at least not only, but...
I'm leaving, Geralt. The Eastern Front beckons. I'm Kedwin bound.
Never mentioned you'd be moving. Any intention to either.
I didn't know I would be. Found out this morning. 2 soldiers came to my door, said Redania needs me again.
Couldn't turn him down? Just say no?
Perhaps I could have. But I didn't want to. Treating the ill and wounded, it's my calling. No place I'm needed more than at the front.
I understand. Any chance we'll see each other again?
Someday, I'm sure.
So, learn anything about Olgierd?
Well, I abandoned the books quickly. Decided that if I was going to learn the truth, I'd need to find someone who knows him.
Find anyone?
Turned out I didn't need to look far. A colleague at the Academy, an assistant to Professor Permathine Shakeslog, claims Olgierd von Everec met with the professor multiple times. Apparently, Olgierd asked the professor to do some research. Professor got so worked up doing it, he went daffy. Started jealously guarding his notes. Wouldn't even let his assistant look at them.
The professor. Where'll I find him?
Here in Oxenfurt. Cloistered inside his house on Academy grounds. Mage hunters guard his door.
Mage hunters at the door. He under house arrest?
I can't say, really. Some of the faculty think him a traitor. Say he sold out to the hunters for a hefty pouch of gold. The assistant, on the other hand, insists the professor wants him there to protect him. I don't know what from.
What's your guess?
He's certainly useful to them. A specialist in black magic and the occult? Must be a trove of knowledge.
If he's really gone off his nutter, I wouldn't be surprised to see them using him.
Need to talk to this professor.
We'll go together. Verdanian guards all over the academy. Doubt you'll get in alone.
Guards have never stopped me, you know that.
Wound these, and I'll have to patch them up. Besides, we might run into a friend. Get inside free and easy.
And then Shawnee was never seen again.
So how are things at the academy these days?
You mean since Radovid shut it down?
I mean, is it well guarded?
Might be all it is. Many of the faculty fled to the far north. The braver ones stayed, but assumed the guises of tailors and laundresses. Why?
Just curious. Scholars seem to have adopted mage tactics. They in the same bind?
No, Sonoshi.
So
and I
east or
never
front,
will.
Then?
Depends where they send me.
Wherever it is, take care of yourself.
Always do. So don't worry.
Long live Radovid!
I was about to say, why would I want him to be more demon-like, or Daemon-like, I should say. Yeah, seriously, Radovid's dead, guys. Come on, you don't have to keep doing what he said. Oh, I absolutely could see Radovid turning on scholars. Not only is he... but also I firmly believe he's the kind of person who basically thinks the opposite of what I do. You know, the whole enlightened populace thing. I think Radovid's more the type who prefers a populace who knows nothing and therefore can accomplish nothing. I mean, that is a legitimate line of thought. That the more ignorant and stupid your populace is, the harder it is for them to turn against you.
Halt! By order of King Radovid, no one's allowed inside the academy.
Not even lecturers?
No one means no one.
See, you've become quite the stickler, Norbert. You were much kinder when I was patching you up. By the way, how's your knee?
Fine. Dandy. As if no arrow ever struck it.
Consider yourself a lucky man. Because if I'd not decided to operate, you'd be a cripple to the end of your days.
Bruno, eh? Maybe we ought to let her in. She's a decent lass. Not like to steal nothing.
All right. But alone, which will draw too much attention. I'd rather not get shite from the captain on his account.
Here's what we'll do. I'll go in, then help you sneak in around the back.
How?
Don't know, but I'll figure something out. Usually aren't nearly as many guards on the riverside.
Agreed.
All right, let me in.
I was gonna say, this is like 5+ years after. Although that's... I tend to prefer those kind of memes. Well, that's not true. If you're going to do a typical meme, I prefer those kind of memes. AKA, where it's just kind of woven quietly into the background. Yeah, I know, I'm guilty of that too, but I hate it when someone just is like, wink! Wink! Did you guys see that reference I just made? Wink! And yeah, I know, I do that too. I try not to, I really do. Also, you notice how she just decided to make that plan right in front of everyone, like, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Tai too. Just, okay. Now that we've duped the guards, I'm going... Just really...
Geralt! Psst! Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Grab the line!
I was just thinking of Caraway, Kay. No joke.
Where'd you get the rope?
Okay, I want you, Kay, because you know what I'm talking about. I want you to picture Shawnee literally sprinting through the courtyard, right in front of the guards, shouting at the top of her lungs her plan to Geralt. So then I'm going to go over to this section, put the rope up, and lower the rope down.
Long story. But we've done well. Professor Shakesock's house is at the end of this street. Witch hunters guard the door. Doubt I'll be able to sweet-talk them.
Been a huge help already, Shawnee. Thanks.
It was nothing. Really. You'd have done the same for me. If you wish to see me again before I go, I'll be at home. Packing will take some time yet.
All right. Be seeing you.
Don't worry. I'll come by to make sure we have an intimate moment of Gwent. Alright, now I don't want Shawnee to have to patch these people together. So the best possible option is to make sure there's nothing left to patch. There we go. See, she doesn't have to do anything for them if they're dead.
Locked tight. Need another way in. You leave a window open, maybe?
Ah, that's true, okay. Still, they're dead, so she can't patch them up anyways. I'm looking out for her, honestly. Yeah, I do make a couple of old man references every now and again. I don't apologize for that, though. Okay. You know what's weird is I'm not actually that old. I mean, I sort of feel it. I feel old every day. But I'm not. I'm only 36. Well, about to be 37. It would help if I hit the right button. There we go. There we go. Totally intended. Wrong button. See? Very intended. You could tell because the game crashed when I did it. I like to think he's like, and like all of Oxenfurt just went, just like that. Oh, I'm down here again. God dang it! I don't know what you're talking about, Console Hot. Nobody likes space. I'm trying really hard not to make a Portal 2 reference here, you guys. Oop. No, that was just an animation bug. Again, by the way. Oh yeah, you wanted to show me something upstairs. Hang on. Up we go. What do we got up here? Booze. 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 A lot of booze. Can't reach the books. There we go. She Who Knows. Surely this is what Has just wanted to show me. It has to be. Ah. Folks say there were four at first. The mother, She Who Knows, the Lady of the Wood, came here from a faraway land, and since she suffered terribly from loneliness, she made 3 daughters out of dirt and water. A long, long time ago, the mother was the sole ruler of all of Velen. Her daughters brought her the people's requests and served as her voice. Each spring, sacrifices of grain, animals, and men, because you gotta sacrifice people. I mean, what kind of animals do you take us for? Were made to the Lady of the Wood on her special night. Yet as the years passed, the Lady of the Wood slipped deeper and deeper into madness. Her madness eventually spread over the land. Men took to abandoning their homes and setting out into the bog, where they became food for beasts. Before long, Velen was drowning in blood, possibly literally. The daughters saw their land nearing destruction and took it upon themselves to save it. When spring came once more, and with it the night of sacrifices, they killed the mother and buried her in the bog. Her blood watered the oak atop Ard Cabin, and from then on the tree grew wholesome and hardy fruit for the people. As for the lady's immortal soul, it refused to leave its beloved land, so the sisters imprisoned it, and to this day it lies trapped beneath the Whispering Hillock, where it thrashes about in powerless rage until we killed it. The end. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was true, but whether I actually think it's true or not is more debatable. I like the more mundane idea that she was simply a druid, or druidess, that was imprisoned by the crones for whatever reason. Probably something cruelty-related.
Silver Lamen. Don't know the sigil. Hasn't been used in ages, looks like. Shattered mirror. No sign of impact. Probably not an accident. Shattered by a sound, maybe. Someone look in it and scream?
Nah. You know, funnily enough, I only have one mirror in my home. And I wouldn't have it there if I had a choice in the matter.
Jillian Alboco's Lesser Key. Tomes about demons. Dusty as they come.
Well, see, me and Fantastical are kind of like heat. If you have too little heat, well, then you're screwed. You're gonna die. But if you have too much heat, well, then you're screwed. You're gonna die. You need to get just the right amount of Fantastical for it to really work. You gotta carefully reach for that precision point.
Cole, is that you? Leave the bedpan in the usual spot. And take the platter. I shan't be eating today.
Professor Shakeslock.
Who the blazes? How'd you get in? Get out. I know nothing. Don't wish to know anything. Understand? No, no, no. Out!
Not gonna hurt you.
That demon sent you. I'm sure of it.
On the plus side, he's not a demon. Oh, god damn it, Hazardous. Well, have a good day.
What demon?
Feigned ignorance. Please. You know. Gaunter O'Dim. Evil incarnate.
He didn't send me, but he is why I'm here. I'm a witcher.
A mutant. Yeah. Could be.
Why are there guards outside your door? You a prisoner?
Protective custody. That's the phrase. Protective. When I cannot decide my own fate, cannot breathe without their permission.
What do they want from you?
You may not be aware, but I'm one of the foremost experts on the occult. Living experts, that is. My mentor was the outstanding Professor Lionel Van...
And you're cooperating with the witch hunters now?
Cooperating? As if I had a choice. They're ignorant, but not enough to ignore what I know about magic, witches, sorceresses, what have you. Knowledge they use for barbaric ends, but that's beyond my control.
Came here because I need information. Think you might be the only man who has it.
A witcher. Then it follows I needn't fear. I'm hardly a post-conjunction creature.
What did Olgierd von Everec want from you?
I curse the day I first set eyes upon the man. He appeared at my doorstep one day, offering a sack of gold were I only to find out who Gaunter O'Dim is and how to get rid of him. I agreed. Such matters are my speciality. And I needed the coin. I pored over countless tomes, delved into obscure incidents and analysed folk legends. I went so far as to travel to Nilfgaard, the library there, where at last I hit upon the mysterious entity's trail. There are records of encounters dating back thousands of years in many cultures, under many names, but always as evil incarnate. In this land we call him Gaunter O'Dim, at times Master Mirror, or the Man of Glass. In deciphering the ancient scrawlings, I went blind. Yet I learned a great deal. For example, that he plays with his victims and thrives on pacts above all else. Seemingly harmless contracts which drive their parties to madness.
I love how the game keeps drawing your attention up towards the barely holding together house, which, it's worth noting, is only barely holding together because we just broke our way in. Like, you saw the cracks that made, right?
What's with the surroundings? These runes, what do they mean?
They protect me. Here, evil cannot touch me.
How do you know?
He told me himself. Paid me a visit once. Fascinating meeting that was. I was blind already, but saw him clearly. He smiled at me. Said he was honoured I'd taken such an interest in him. He wished to thank me, and explained he'd taken a similar interest in me. He drew the circle and said I'd be safe within it. His way of repaying me, you see.
Ever tried to leave it?
If you'd heard how he said it, you'd be as certain as I am what leaving would bring.
Know anything else about the man?
Gaunter O'Dim is no man. He is evil. Evil which assumes various forms. Forget about him, or die.
You're alive.
Alive? Yet I live in constant fear, born of what I've learned about him.
I have a theory about this scene, by the way. I'm curious of your guys' thoughts, especially UK.
Olgierd signed one of these pacts with him?
Brilliant deduction. But have you guessed why? You must know that he came from a wealthy, influential line. He must have, if the family of his betrothed accepted him. Yet did you know his fortune soured? He himself became an outcast, impoverished. Iris's family, a powerful house, could not accept this, would not marry their daughter to a nobody. Olgierd wished to elope. The further away, the better. Yet Iris refused to cut her family ties.
Quite the predicament.
Indeed. Their luck turned yet darker when a wandering witch mentioned a solution. A man who would grant any wish. His name, Master Mirror. The rest follows naturally. Olgierd and O'Dim, a meeting at a crossroads, a wish, a pact signed in blood, and a price to be paid. Olgierd was to sacrifice one he loved. O'Dim delights in difficult choices. He knew Olgierd loved two in this world, his betrothed and his brother, Vladimir. Olgierd chose, and soon thereafter married his beloved Iris, his fortune restored.
So did Olgierd kill his own brother?
No. Deduce, Witcher. O'Dim acts directly or indirectly. Olgierd merely signed the blood letter. The next day, his brother was dead.
Olgierd tell you all that?
He had to. How else was I to diagnose his case?
Make it sound like an illness.
It is worse. Many illnesses are treatable, but play with evil, and medicine can be much harder to find.
Why was Olgierd out to get rid of O'Dim? He'd gotten what he wanted.
Had he? His heart had turned cold as ice. His feelings for his wife, for whom he'd sacrificed his brother, had withered. He'd lost all he'd loved. Had he wanted any of this? No. O'Dim grants what you wish, not what you want. All who sign a pact learn the difference and die by it.
I hate to interrupt really quick here, but that's a very Babylon 5 thing, isn't it? I don't want to spoil Babylon 5, it's just... I could totally see a Vorlon doing something like that.
All? No way to get rid of him?
Kill him, you mean? Kill evil? No. Yet the annals tell of a man who dissolved his pact by defeating Odim at his own game.
Meaning?
Odim wields contracts, word traps, duels of wits. Challenge him to such a duel. He'll agree, and can be beaten. But remember, there is only ever one stake. The sole thing he truly desires. Human souls.
By the way, that's one of the only parts of this entire puzzle about Mr. Odim that doesn't make sense to me. Why does he care about souls? And I'll be honest, I have no way to even begin to guess about that one. Obviously, it's supposed to be a reference, you know, the devil. But practically speaking, I don't see any point in it. I know that sounds strange, but it probably doesn't help because we don't actually know what souls are in this setting. Not really. Not in reality, not in depth or detail. Now, I do have a theory on that, and I'll go ahead and share it with you now. How many of you guys have ever played a board game? Let's use Settlers of Catan as an example. So in Settlers of Catan, the game plays until you reach 10 points. Points can come from a lot of different things. They can come from, you know, literally victory point cards. It's victory points. Or they can come from, you know, you have the longest road at the time being, so that can become points for you. You get it for having buildings out. You get it for having, you know, cities out. Put simply, I think souls are points to him. I think it's how he keeps score. Again, going back to my motif of him doing this basically just for fun. Let me give you another parallel. How many of you guys have ever played any variant of poker? I imagine a lot of you have played poker before. One of the things I've noticed in my examinations of people is that playing poker can be fun enough, but if you just sit and play rounds with a friend or friends, it's completely pointless. Like, it gets to the point of being really, really boring. Unless you play with chips. Now, you can also play with money, or you can play with food, or, you know, whatever. But as long as there is something at stake, even if it's something fake, or just something for fun, all of a sudden, the game takes a whole lot more meaning. You see where I'm going with this? Even if you're just playing for plastic chips, which don't... That's fine, okay. Which don't literally mean anything. It still makes the game more fun, because now there's something at stake. Now there's something to win, and something to lose. Right? So, to put it bluntly, I think he thinks of souls as poker chips. Or points, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I think he thinks of them as something that he doesn't actually need, and he just enjoys them or wants them, or it's a way of keeping score, or collects them, or trophies, or whatever. It's part of the game, in short. That's my take on it.
Odim left a mark on my face. Any way to get it off?
A mark? No mention in the tomes. Strange. Unless it will disappear once your pact is fulfilled.
If I challenge him, end the pact that way, will it go away?
That I do not know. The one man who succeeded bore no mark.
Thanks. Helped me a lot.
Good. Very good. Ah, to feel useful after so many years locked up, living in fear. Why, it's pleasance itself.
No, that makes sense to me in Mind Blast. And dead. I mean, he left the circle, right? Okay, I have a theory about that, too. And you've probably guessed the nature of my overall theory crafting on this one. So you can probably already guess the theory I'm about to tell you. I don't think that the circle has anything to do with anything. I don't think the circle actually prevents anything or stops anything. I think Gaunter just enjoyed the idea of him being stuck in that circle and thinking it protects him. You know, a prison of his own making. And thus, he basically just decided to go ahead and kill him when he finally leaves the circle. Basically just for fun, not because he is now unprotected. My take on it. And now to extinguish all the candles. Except for one. We'll leave the one. Well, that's my point, though, Tigzar. It didn't actually... Whatever. The circle Odim created terrifies me. I cannot see it, but I know it's there. I know no name for the sense with which I perceive it. When I near its bounds, strange shivers shoot down my spine. This is not pain, but something that stands my hair on edge like a hedgehog quivers. A month passes, and I still stay within the runic circle. Nightmares prey on me more and more. I've come to fear sleep. I know not how long I can withstand this. I dreamt I had a daughter. This was strange, for I've never had children, yet one came to me in my sleep. She was no older than 10. She called me daddy, loved me deeply. I could see it in her eyes. Strangest part was I was also burned for her with a great paternal love. Can one possibly dream of someone who does not exist? Can one love such a one? I no longer fear sleep. Perhaps Odim had decided to give me peace. I had no desire to change his mind. My dreams of Emily give me great joy. My daughter is a good and clever girl. I believe she will grow into a wonderful woman. A shame she exists only in my dreams. Not only do I no longer fear sleep, but now I cannot wait for the moment in which it comes. What a fantastic transformation. If nothing changes, I shall soon try to leave the circle. I now know why I dreamt for weeks of a child I never had. It was his doing. This night, my daughter died. She caught a strange illness which pocked her whole body with hideous oozing sores. She cried, begged me to help, and there was nothing I could do. She died in my arms. I awoke soaked with sweat. I remain a wreck, my mind tattered. 3 months have passed since Amelie's death. My heart still bleeds, and horrifying visions plague my every moment. I'm a blind man who wishes he saw nothing, for utter blindness would be a relief compared to these tormenting visions. I cannot persevere much longer. I have become a deeply unhappy old man. I have now lived within the circle for a year. Thoughts of suicide haunt my mind evermore. It would be so simple. I need but step outside the ruins. So I think we can all agree that Gaunter Adim's a really nice guy, right? I actually do have a quote. This is a quote of mine related to what just happened, or what we just read about. I don't mind nightmares that much, because when I wake up, it was just a nightmare. But I hate good dreams, because when I wake up, it was just a good dream. I mean, in the interest of fairness, most of my nightmares are actually really horrifying. To me, obviously. I'm pretty sure other people would find my nightmares so mundane they would actually laugh at me. Like, really? That's what you're... Okay, wow. And no, I'm not sharing them, don't ask. Thank you, Carlos. A little late, but maybe we can poke around Toussaint a little bit. Like this. Oh no. I don't dream about things like spiders or evil death dooms or whatever you're wanting to think of. No, I dream mundane things. But again, I'm not about to share the innermost nightmares of my soul to several strangers on the internet. No offense. It was horrible, Monkey Knot. I ordered that pizza, but he never showed up. Okay, I thought this was the cave. It was to be a scrumptious pizza, too. God dang it. Okay. Oh, now you're here, Braywin. I see how it is. There was no toilet paper. No! Anything but that, please. It takes some getting used to, Monkey Knot, I'll be completely honest. Many years of playing Minecraft kind of taught me how to see very, very, very little light in games. So there's a few reasons why we're going this route. First, it's the quickest one.
Choice of locale. Guessing there's a reason for it.
Second is, obviously, this is not going to be our canon choice. And third is, you ramp up, as per my mentality.
Wasn't me who chose it.
I assumed so. But since we're here, I believe you have something for me.
Fulfilled the third wish.
How do I know this to be the rose? Very well might have picked this up at the Oxenfurt market an hour ago.
Look closely at it. Got it from Iris. It was the last thing that bound her to this world.
What?
I think she loved you. Meant this as a token of that love.
She loved me. After all that's passed. Iris. What a mess we made of it all. If I'd only known then how it would end. What's happening? I feel as though a hot iron's pierced my chest.
Sorry to have kept you waiting. So glad to see everyone's made it. How do you feel, Von Everich? A little less troubled? Lighter in the heart?
Or dim? What do you want?
What do you mean, what? Your soul.
You forget. The pact states you can take it only once you've fulfilled 3 wishes, and...
And we stand together on the moon. Well, what do you know?
I hate to interrupt really quick, but I like the idea that he is sufficiently powerful that he could have literally put him on the moon. This just amused him more.
What? No. We had a pact. The moon is there. There! Not here.
I gave you what you wished for. Here, on the moon, our contract you fulfill.
Horse. You cheated me.
I never cheat. It is done. Your soul belongs to me. At last, it's over. We must meet again one day. Business with you is pure pleasure.
Gonna remove the brand?
Ah, right away. Done. Now, tell me what reward you've chosen.
So, obviously the best reward is getting the advice about Ciri, which is what I want to talk about briefly here. I like... bottle of vodka, that's always full. I like the idea. So, one of the things that many people have pointed out is that when he gives the advice about Ciri, he is... There's no grinning evil or amused tone in his voice. He drops all of it and just becomes deadly serious. And he, in fact, tells you all 6 points you need to do to get the best ending. Now, I find that interesting. Some people have theorized that that's because he himself is interested in the White Frost being stopped. And based on virtually every theory I've heard about him, yeah, no, he probably does want the White Frost to be stopped. He also cannot tell Geralt where Ciri is, because Ciri at the time was split in 2, and also on the Isles, in a similar manner to the Wild Hunt being unable to find her. But I want to add one last point, and I don't mean this in a way to sound like it's making him seem to be a better person. But as I've said before, I really do enjoy the idea that he likes genuine connections between people. Like I mentioned between Geralt and Shani. And I think that he sees that there is a genuine love and a genuine connection between Geralt and Ciri. And so he's like, okay. Not that he... I don't know how to phrase this. It's not necessarily that he's a romantic himself. More like it's something he enjoys, you know? Like he's the kind of person who would derive more enjoyment from a story about real love. And I stress the way I phrase that, because he could tell. And thus, he's like, yeah, okay. And then gives him the story straight. That's my take on it. As always, we don't know. I don't actually know what these do. I'm curious, what do these actually do? Does anyone know? One is a saddle for Roach, okay. Two gives you endless food. Fair enough. Infinite alcohol. Alright. Four gives you 10,000 crowns. I mean, that is literally rich, so yeah, that makes sense. We'll go with 5, of course.
Don't want a thing from you.
Are you certain? I am capable of a great deal.
Never been more sure. Goodbye, Odim.
Oh, absolutely, Django. And I think Geralt is definitely someone who is intelligent enough to be like, yeah, no. I don't want anything. Goodbye. You'll notice he doesn't even really question it. He's just like, yeah, all right. You sure? Okay. Where the hell am I? Whoa! It's cool. It's cool. I got this. I'll just surf down. Ah, this might actually work out. There we go. Listen, he's totally not the devil, even though everything in the universe indicates that he is the devil. So, Roach is looking a little bit, Roach, we've talked about your smoking problem.
Let's go.
It's not even that much faster. I mean, he's a little faster. Granted, I did have an actual saddle on him, which might have increased his speed. I don't know. The Dark Rider. She's fine. See, that eye is completely normal. And those flies are what should always be there. And that eye isn't there at all. Anyways. The saddle appears to be fashioned of strange leather, the hide of some unknown beast. As evidence of its unusual nature, suffice it to say there's always rather warm to the touch. The saddle addles the mind of a randomly selected opponent within limited range. Interesting. It does have 100 stamina, though, which is quite nice. Head falls off. I do hazardous. So anyways, meanwhile, in the past... It's probably because something material is easier to define. I mean, think about it for a second. I mean, if I wished for immortality, that actually can mean a lot of things, as we've discussed many times throughout fiction. Strangely enough, I mean, as fiction has taught us, there's actually a lot of different types of immortality. And a lot of them suck. Then you have to define what exactly is it of you that is becoming immortal. Because you are not one singular item or entity. So which part of you is becoming immortal is also in question. Whereas if you ask for 10,000 gold, then that's 10,000 gold. There's not a lot of different ways to vary that unless you decide to change the unit of measure. So if you ask for 10,000 gold crowns, well, then that also can be varied up, but that's starting... You get my point. It's easier to... Well, you can still rules lawyer or asshole genie your way around any wish. It becomes a lot more difficult to do that with something like, I wish for a carrot, than something as amazingly malleable as I wish for immortality. Oh God, Praguin, that's horrible. one of my favorite. There's actually a term for that. When the monkey's paw concept. There's a proper term for that other than monkey's paw. It was in X-Files of all things. Mulder actually meets a genie, and figures out that she's a monkey's paw genie. So he goes ahead and he sits down and he actually does research and work to try and come up with the least screw-withable wish he possibly can. And he finally says, all right, I figured it out. And he basically, I forget how he phrases it, but he essentially wishes for world peace. So she, everyone in the world except for him and her. And he's like, what the hell? And she's like, what? Well, you think I can do what everyone else hasn't? It's actually a pretty good scene. Interesting, hazardous. So, the vengeful side, if you will. I mean, Mulder does eventually win that encounter, because of course he does, it's his show. See, that kind of ties into what I was mentioning earlier, hazardous. That he has a sense of... I don't even know how to phrase it, actually. That he goes after bad people, basically. Now, granted, we don't really know all the types of people that O'Dim goes after. But... shrug? But did Shakeslock do that was wrong? Well, that's a good question. But... I don't know. And that's my answer. I don't know. See, yeah, the Tucson lady is a perfect example of that. Olgierd is a perfect example of that. And that, I know there's another reference, and I can't think of the name, but we have at least 3 references of people he goes after who are horrible people. People who debatably deserve such a fate. He was the key, Gum Gum. His removal made world peace. Her name is Marlene? What sigil hazardous? Like, I looked upstairs and I didn't see Jack, so I gave up on it. God. Sorry, my back is really killing me today. Well, then probably not hazardous, no. Odds of O'Dim in Cyberpunk? Now, that's an interesting question. Was O'Dim a character invented by CD Projekt Red, or was O'Dim a character invented by Uncle Vernon? Because if he was invented by CD Projekt Red, then the odds of him showing up in Cyberpunk could colossally increase in percentage possibility. I can talk, I swear. It becomes far more likely. The best part is he could be just a completely normal guy there. Just totally normal. I mean, think about that. Just another dude. You don't even have to do a quest arc about him or screwing someone over. He could just be there. Or they could go the Tucson route. Like the Marlene quest that we've been referencing, the woman with the spoons. They could just have a quest that actually references him. Either way, CD Projekt Red is dumb. Moving on. Now, I know. You guys know me. I hate it when they just actively have an open door for continuity and they decide not to. What is this, Star Trek? I can't. So, we need to debate. No, that's way. I mean, obviously, I've done that in the past, Gum Gum, but he's like going to be towards the end of the story arc of Blood and Wine. So we won't see him until tomorrow at the bare earliest. So we need to talk about Olgierd. Now, funnily enough, I'll answer you in brief, Hazardous, because I can't answer you in brief. I've always been under the impression that Gaunter basically put a lockdown on the Professor because the Professor had knowledge. Like, actual knowledge. Going back to that main theme of the series. And the Professor, who is a very deductive, logical mind, was getting close to actually figuring out how Gaunter worked, or what he is, or why he is, or whatever. And in so getting sufficiently close, that's what drew his attention. Now, whether he decided to take out the Professor as a defense mechanism, or if he did it because it was fun, or if he did it because he was curious, or whatever his motives are, it is my opinion that that sufficient understanding of the reality of what Gaunter was is what drew Gaunter to the Professor. That's my take on that. Shrug. Anyways, so now we need to debate Olgierd, because, I mean, that is basically the question we have here. Do we believe that Olgierd deserves the fate that we actually just saw? It's probably worth noting that we don't actually know what we just saw. Does he take the soul to hell, assuming such a thing exists? Does he consume the soul? Does he cessate the soul? Does he collect the soul? He kept the skull, after all. So he puts it in a jar and pings the glass every now and again. So, as much as I hate to keep adding more to this, we don't actually know exactly what he just did to Olgierd. I should point out something, by the way. And once again, this is credit to the voice acting. You'll notice that Olgierd's voice actor started sounding noticeably different from the moment that we gave him the rose. He started sounding actually emotive, like he actually felt. And that makes sense, because all of a sudden the curse on his heart was just gone. And I know that's a duh, and I know that's of course it is, but I just wanted to give credit to the actor, because he does a good job with it. We'll see this again in this ending, by the way. He sounds completely different when we save him. It's excellent work, either on the voice actor, the voice director, or both. So again, whether or not he deserves this is kind of the question here, as horrible as that may sound. Because this boils back down to that question we've actually asked many times on this show, and that is, does redemption exist? Yep, okay, just making sure. Which I know sounds like a strange question, but it is a necessary question, since so many people do not agree on that question. So, in short, does Olgierd deserve a second chance, is what this really boils down to. Because if we decide to spare him, that's what he's getting. He has lost his brother, he has lost his wife, and he has lost, his immortality and his power. But he now has the capability of doing something. See, Hazardous gives an opinion on redemption. Django gives an opinion on redemption. Geludo gives an opinion on redemption. It's, like I said, it's something that we can't agree on as a species, and I've just kind of sort of accepted that over the years. That's why I always bring it up just as the redemption question, because no one can agree on it. And that's fine. We don't have to agree on everything. But that is what this question, in my opinion, boils down to. Does redemption exist? And if it does, should it apply in this case? Because, like it or not, that is what this is. This is giving him an opportunity at redemption. And he may choose to take it and try to be a better person. Or he may choose to going back and being a bandit. Or he might decide to be worse than he was before. Or he might decide to be neutral and just kind of live a normal life. All of these are options. We are basically giving him the one-up here. Now, I do actually want to mention something that is my opinion. Based on what I have learned about Mr. Olgierd, which is not as much as I would like, I would say that most of the horrible stuff we hear about him happened after the curse. However, I do have to add that he was by no means a good person before that. He was a raider, and you know my opinion of raiders. He was basically a robber baron. New money, I've already talked about that. And that's the kind of person who should probably die. That being said, you guys know my opinion of eternal torment and torture. So, if nothing else, sparing him from eternal torment and torture is something that I'm going to be in favor of. Like, 100%. Even if it means, as Taitu mentioned earlier, I just shove a blade into him myself afterwards, I still don't want him to actually suffer for eternity. That's just not my bag. It's like I've mentioned when it comes to the wall over in D&D. Faerun, Forgotten Realms. No one deserves the wall, in my opinion. No one. Is he in eternal torment? Who knows? They do mention it's a fate worse than death. It's entirely possible that he is just gone. That he is cessated in the truest sense of the word. And that all that's left is his skull. I don't know. We don't know, as I already pointed out. Either way, if I'm being honest, making this call wasn't a hard one for me. So let's just skip through this really quick.
How do...
Got it. What?
And there's a few years of pain and guilt. Enjoy.
Wait.
Do not interfere, Witcher. Remember what I did to the last fool who interrupted me.
You grant wishes, right? Grant mine and release him.
He must repay his debt.
Let him go, and I'll take it on. We'll call it mine.
You wish to give your soul for his?
No, but we can play for them. I lose, you take mine and Olgierd's. But if I win, you release us both.
What do you propose we play? Gwent?
Don't know. Maybe we can bet on a challenge. You know I'm good at accomplishing the impossible. Seen me do it.
Very well. But we shall do this my way.
What's happening?
You wish to play, so let us play. I shall tell you a riddle. Solve it, and both you and Olgierd will be free.
And if I don't?
Then we'll all three go for a wild ride. It's what you proposed, is it not?
The riddle. Let me hear it.
To all things and men I appertain, and yet by some am shunned and disdained. Fondle me and ogle me till you're insane, but no blow can harm me, cause me pain. Children delight in me, elders take fright, fair maids rejoice and spin. Cry and I weep, yawn and I sleep, smile and I shall grin.
What was that supposed to be?
You tell me. What am I?
You're going down.
We shall see, my friend. You must find me before the sand in the hourglass runs out.
Yeah, reflection was the easy answer here.
Let's begin.
I sometimes find myself wondering if he made it this easy on purpose. If that was a deliberate choice by Odim.
You like it? Plenty more where it came from. Just remember, you must find me before time runs out.
Nice place. And you'll also notice, as weird as this may sound,
weren't part of the deal.
My world, my rules.
So, okay, everything I've been saying about my theory about him playing games, about him, you know, this is all him playing a board game and adhering to the rules, a huge amount of that is based on this section.
Shani, hang on, I'm coming.
I can't believe you fell for that.
I mean, as weird as this may sound, Odim could have slanted things way more in his favor if he wanted to. And he could have made a completely unfair game, or actually asked him to do an impossible task. What he actually asks of him is fairly simple, relatively speaking. And I know, you're thinking, oh, Laura, you just mean in terms of gameplay. Well, no, actually. What I mean is just how possible this is. I know that sounds like such a strange way to put that, but as I've said many times, the difference between possible and impossible is infinite. He could have been amazingly unfair. But instead he decides to play a game. And that is, of course, why I give my ultimate theory that he is playing a game, that this whole thing is him playing a board game, to use my own parallel. Wow, there's a lot of gold in here.
Really, Geralt? Unable to resist a few shiny coins.
But there's so many.
I truly expected more.
There's so many gold coins.
Time is short.
I got plenty of time. Have you seen how fast I move, man? Come on. I got this. Just grab some coin here. That being said, I do still prefer the idea that he is limited, not that he chooses to be limited. But we've talked about that one before, too. And you'll notice both perspectives fit this neatly. And that, ultimately, Huthor, is my answer to your question. Why this doesn't bother me, whereas other aspects of this type of writing do. Because it's not that they've given us a blank sheet of paper, it's that they've given us a Rorschach blot that fits depending on how you look at it. What, Bar? What are you talking about, Kay? I'm fine. You know, I've actually never lost. What happens if you lose here?
Oh, awful. You're doing terribly. Remember, you can always give up. As I see it, you will never find me. Never.
I know it speeds up, but I want to show off as much of this as I can.
To all I appertain, by some am shunned and disdained. Could be family, I guess. Wouldn't match much else in the riddle, though. Repeat the riddle.
To all things and men I appertain, and yet by some am shunned and disdained. Fondle and ogle me.
Apparently there's a sword back there. Nah, I don't care.
No blow.
I have better swords.
Cause me pain. Children delight in me. Elders take fright.
Mirror. So this is where you're hiding.
Come now. You didn't expect it to be that easy, did you?
Can't keep doing that forever.
Care to wager on it?
Damn you, Odin.
Point for me.
You'll notice how he basically is mocking both you and arguably the player for having already figured out the riddle in a classic case of misdirection.
I'll still get you.
So you say, yet I wait and wait and nothing.
Gotta be some mirror here you won't shatter.
Seek and ye shall find. Perhaps.
Wonder how you'll shatter a sheet of water. Can't keep doing that forever.
Care to wager on it?
And of course, this is the exact same hint that the demons gave us earlier.
Gotcha. Be gone. You've lost.
So, if I'm not mistaken, he actually speaks in at least 3 different languages there. I could be wrong, because I've heard a lot of different statements about that, and the translation for that.
So, any better?
Yeah, thanks. Wine's revived me a bit.
This plonk could revive a corpse. An exquisitely rank vintage. You know what, though? It's good at last to taste something real. So, have at it. Tell me what the blazes just happened. Your brand's gone. Guessing that's a good sign?
So, just the last time I'm going to point this out, just pay attention to how much more inflection and emotion he is putting into his voice.
First off, you tell me what it's like to have a heart of stone.
It's wonderful at the start. You feel no fear, no angst, but also no concern, no care for anyone, not even those you loved. And gradually, you lose them. Well, you know how it ended.
What about your senses? Taste, smell?
All there. At first, I savoured the world like never before. It was stronger, more clear.
How's that possible?
I did not wish for a heart of stone. That was a mere side effect. I wished to win back Iris's hand and have my fortune restored, and then to live like there was no tomorrow. And thus I lived until I ceased to feel anything at all. What a joy to be done with it. Because I am done, right? Will you tell me what happened?
O'Dim decided to have some fun at my expense. Devised a game I was supposed to lose. Seems he'd forgotten the training you put me through. In doing the undoable.
So only to protect myself. In doing so, I put you in harm's way. Forgive me.
Well, don't have to worry about him anymore. You're safe and free.
I thank you. Though I've no notion what to do with this freedom now. Mirror took everything. Everything I loved. All I held dear.
Not true. Got your heart back.
A bitter victory. Now at last I sense how much I've lost. I've a heart again. Yet all it feels is grief, sadness, and defeat. My life is a ruin.
Can't say I envy you. As the saying goes, careful what you wish for.
Oh, I shall be. Believe me. Actually, I've a better idea. I'll never wish for anything again. It's time I took fate into my own hands. Lived life anew. And truly, this time.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll never forget what you did for me, Witcher. I have something for you.
Can't accept this.
You can, and must. This sabre's been in my family for generations. Even when I'd lost all else, it remained at my side. Means a great deal to me.
All the more reason why I can't take it.
Do me the honor. This'll mark the start of my new life. And such a weapon could be right useful to you.
Thank you.
Ow!
Sorry.
You needn't be. I thank you again, Geralt. And good luck on the path.
Good luck to you too.
He dies 3 hours later from infection. No, blood loss. I don't think I'm going to use that sword, consequently. Because we all know the only thing I care about is how they look. And, well, that's not a bad sword. I mean, you know. I'd prefer to use the sword that Croc gave us. Winter's Blade. Weapon charges with energy during combat. When its color changes to red, a strong attack will release this energy in an extra powerful strike at the cost of part of the attacker's vitality. Oh, wow, Huthor. That's terrifying. Oh, there's no cut. Huh. Well, okay. I guess I'm cursed forever. Do 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 do. So anyways, that was Heart of Stone. Boop.